open the meeting.
Also moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Thank you. We're gonna start right off with, well, we don't have any old business. We're gonna start right off with new business. The appointment of Robert Lewis to the cemetery committee.
This reappointment?
This reappointment, Bob is not here tonight, but he's been on the committee for a good 2 or 3 terms now, so.
We generally don't ask them to be here. They can.
That's right. They don't have to be for reappointment.
I know, in the past we asked though, because it's kind of nice to say, thank you for doing what you're doing. You know, recognize that they are.
The new people we've asked to, but anybody that's just been reappointed, we
Welcome to be
haven't.
here.
We invite Bob to come, we invited Bob to come, but I know we had a meeting last night, I don't know if we have a meeting today.
You can always stop by on the way home and knock on the door.
Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, so moved to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Thank you.
Recess,
Board discussion.
Yes, I set this up for a couple of reasons. We haven't had the school board members here for a while, so I thought it'd be a good opportunity right before the budget to have them come forward and Carl to come forward, and we can have a general discussion about the budget and or any other issues that you felt that you were interested in.
Guess I'm gonna turn it over to you, Kat.
Sure. Do you want to be, okay, sure. Well, thank you. I've been coming out here for a while, and I always enjoy coming out. And so I don't want to talk at you for long. I'm more hoping for some Q&A and see what you have. Our budget this year does show an increase, and I gave you, you have the consolidated budget. And this version, actually, we're reprinting it. It's going to have some page numbers on it. But if you get into the first set of budget documents itself, you'll see Article 1 right down through Article 11. And at the end, it will give you a summary. So the total general fund budget is up $1.35 million, $1.347 million. Of that, the majority, a little over 1.1 million, is the bond payment for the $14 million bond we took out. The good news is, and we had this conversation last year, that we were going to receive more state subsidy this year. It's year 2 of a biennial budget, so we had a rough idea. I was putting a lot of faith in our legislators, so we did receive more subsidy this year, and it's worked out pretty well.
Has that actually been voted on? Has that gone through?
At the DOE level? That is a good question. They have not yet. I did speak with 2 legislators today. They said, there's nothing they could do to stop us from getting that funding. We will get that. And actually, they told me I would have it in writing by Thursday, a copy of that document. Yes, so that we will receive our funding. The ED 279 is out, it hasn't changed. It's changed a couple times when it first came up, but March 6th, so that funding is set, and they keep telling me they feel confident with it.
So I guess my question would be is, when we go to commit taxes, if they haven't come back in session, will we be okay to commit with these numbers?
I feel very confident with these numbers.
Will we be okay to?
I feel as confident as I possibly can with all faith in the legislature that I have.
Okay. I truly think they're.
I really do.
I just want.
Yeah.
But you'll make up the difference if we're wrong.
Between the 2 of us, we will figure out a way to make up the difference.
Actually, it's
You're not running for governor or anything. Use some good stations.
Yeah, but we did. We received extra subsidy, about $900,000, which is what we were, give or take, what we were expecting. So that pretty much took care of the bond payment. The town of Belgrade, all of our towns received some money back last year. Smartly, you were able to bank that money, so and bank half of it, which the half that you have remaining takes care of any increase in taxes you have. So with Denny's work on that, basically Belgrade can have a flat school budget as far as the state is concerned. The taxes, the school, our assessment would be to Belgrade. I don't have it on top of my head, but it's give or take $56,000 about what it went up for the town of Belgrade total. That's including the $1.1 million bond payment. So it was a good time to do this. And you had just about that, maybe a 56.
Little over 56, so it's a negative by
A couple bucks. So, so it worked out well. And it worked out well for most of our towns. There was a couple that was sort of one side or the other of zero, but it was a good year for us. We've had a good year academically, which I'm very proud of. This district school's doing well, which defined by the kids are doing well. It's been good. Yes, Mr. Hollinger.
Next year, we're looking at a fairly significant increase because we're looking at an additional half year on the bond, and the CTE funding will not be subsidizing it the next year.
So,
is that correct?
No. So the bond. So how the bond is set up is in the first year it's an interest only. Learn that. But we actually worked with the bond bank to put that so that we would make a whole payment this year, so that you wouldn't see that big increase. Since we were getting that extra subsidy this year, we wanted to make a whole payment. So the budget, as far as the bond is concerned, next year should be basically flat. What we have in the budget this year is $1.1 million dedicated towards the bond payment, and that's what I haven't got the final payment schedule, but it should be the same. When we originally got what you just said, though, when we originally received the bond payment schedule, exactly what you just said. It was about a half a payment this first year, and then it go into a full payment the second year. But I didn't want to do 2 years of increases. The bond is on everybody's mind this year. We had the extra subsidy. We could take care of it, make a payment sooner, so we're doing that. So, and then the CTE came out this year. So we're not, money's all going straight to CTE this year. That one will be a little bit because the subsidy we received from CTE was, losing that payment. So we didn't have to pay $500,000 to the MMTC. It wasn't a complete wash. We actually we made out a little better this year with that. So that one will play a factor.
Right, but
next year that will just be we still won't have to make any payment to MMTC, but we won't have seen that bump because of the difference between subsidy and payment.
Right.
So there will be a little bit there. The other thing that hits it last year, and I remember having this conversation, you were here, we were talking about, this year we were on the good side, and this hasn't happened in a while as far as, we're on a lot of good sides this year, but no, we haven't been on the good side of property valuations in a while. We were RSU 18, our 5 communities, the increase in property valuations was significantly lower than the state increase. Next year, we're a little on the wrong side again, but nothing like we were a few years ago when we were at 17% for our 5 towns, and Belgrade being, you won that one. That was congratulations. That was a good thing to win. But so we're on the wrong side of that a little bit. So Howard, that'll be a little bit of knock next year, but nothing compared to what we've dealt with in the past with that.
And the bond payment is 1.1 million?
Give or take 1.1 million.
Okay, so for 20 years, so it's going to be...
It goes down over time. Surprisingly, it's down under 800,000 for the last 5-6 years. It's and I remember you asked me this question last year and we had that conversation. It's approaching $20 million.
Sounds like it's more than that.
No, I'll give you the exact number, but it's like I said, it drops
enough at the end.
It goes for about 5 years, 6 years at $1.1 million, and it drops into the 900,000, and then it drops to 800, and then it drops like 780, 100,000 for the last few years. So, but I can give you the exact schedule.
So the bond interest with payment over the 20-year, the interest in
principal
is roughly 20.
It's pushing $20 million.
And it can't be paid off early.
No, if we collect, if we do fundraising, we collect it, we can put that money into escrow and use that money to pay it off, but we can't pay the principal off early.
I get all that now. At one of the meetings that I was at last year, when the group that was pushing for the athletic field said that they almost had, assured that they were going to have most of that money raised from donors. Where are we at on those insurances? Because I remember saying assurances are just assurances, we have to follow this.
I've scheduled a meeting with boosters to have a report for the next board meeting. The board asked me that same question. They want to know where they are. There hasn't been a lot. The boosters has not really raised a lot of money. They've pushed. Actually, there's our Claire Heffernan is our grant writer. She's got a couple of big ones out there, and we're always hopeful. We're pushing Reebok, we're pushing a couple of big ones. So we're going to keep trying. But yes, I heard those conversations as well. I mean, I heard the questions about. Yes, and you and I had conversations about those. I said, I'm not promising that. And then we talked about the Alphons were brought up, and actually there was a question, I think, at one of your meetings, like, didn't they offer to fund this years ago? No, they did not. They have never offered money they've never funded a public school athletic complex, and they have no plans to ever fund a public school athletic complex. So, but there were a couple of people. That was a good question. But the budget looks good this year. There's been a lot of, it's good cooperation. We've got a lot of really good input from people. It's reasonable, the taxes, that's good. That's good that they're going to stay flat in your town. You need that.
This year.
Yeah, and we're going to try to do it. We'll do our best next year. But it's nice to have gotten over that hump a little bit. I mean, we lost some. We went, as you guys know, we went from the first year of consolidation. When I was doing the budget in China, we received 68 cents on the dollar. That's about what we were receiving. And this year we're around 40. So I mean, when you lose that much money, somebody has to make it up. And no secret to you where it came from. So, yes.
How many teachers are we losing for the upcoming school year?
I was going to say how many teachers do we have. I'm like, oh my, I'm going to have to quick count. How many teachers are we losing? There's some pluses and minuses in each building. In Belgrade, we're not losing anybody. We're keeping the same staffing in Belgrade. The high school, we're cutting 2 teaching positions. I'm waiting on kindergarten numbers. There's a chance either in Sydney or China our numbers might dictate the loss of 1 more. We are adding a couple of half-time people. I'm not sure how that's going to pull out. They're going to be interventionists. Keith is still going through data, and then we'll put the people where they're needed. So it's 2-ish, 2 to 3 when it gets all said and done is about what we'll have for staffing cuts. We're adding a couple of techs. But teachers-wise, it's going to be in the 2 to 3 range. In the high school, honestly, staffing is easier at the elementaries. You have 18 kids, you hire a teacher. 30 kids, you hire 2 teachers. At the elementary, it's very transparent. It's really easy to cut. I mean, it takes 5 minutes to do staffing at an elementary school. Just how many kids do we have? That's how many teachers we need. Divide, boom, there we go. Middle school is more complicated. High school is. You have AP classes, you have kids choosing classes, you have college classes, we have people teaching online classes. So if you don't pay attention, the high school can get out of control with staffing. So we probably could, next year we might be able to cut another one up there, and the following year another one. So we're going to try to keep on top of that to get our numbers back to where they should be, staffing wise. So that's a good question.
What positions did you cut this year?
This year we were able to cut a position in the social studies department and 1 in the mathematics department. And we do everything through attrition.
Is that due to student decline?
It's due to student decline a few years ago. I think we probably should have made this cut, or could have made this cut a couple of years ago. It's hard. You try to work through the attrition. You try not to cut people, work with staff, but there's been a couple changes this year that really pushed it over the edge. It made it so this should be done.
Are the numbers still declining?
Last year, we actually was the first year in several years we had a tick up. I don't know how much the expansion of Colby College stuff and the hospital coming to Northern Augusta, if that's starting to have. Sydney was our biggest growth town. There's a new subdivision. You drive down Middle Road to Sydney. Holy smoke, there's a new subdivision. I remember last year when we were doing kindergarten screening, I have a population study, which you folks have seen, Planning Essentials, which you've worked with in the past. They do our population study. I remember last year going out to Sydney's screening, and I was expecting 28, 29 kids. And they're usually pretty accurate. There was 43 kindergartners, so it's like all of a sudden, so I don't expect it to continue. I expect that we had a tick up. It'll flatten out or go down a little bit. I mean, the 10-year projection that we looked at a couple of years ago with you folks had us, slowly, dropping down a little bit and then leveling out around 2,500 or so. We're still around 27, but it's getting close where we need to do once the population study gets out beyond when kids are born, so, after, 5-6 years, then they're entering school, but it gets less reliable, so.
You had indicated that we had a good year in school, from
Yes.
educational point of view, that's great. The question I guess I have is, there's been a lot of conversation more recently, in the last few years, about college versus technical school. There's 6,000 jobs out there, whatever, unfilled because we haven't got qualified kids. And I know that for a long while, our educational system was pushing people to go to college. College.
4-year college.
Yes.
Traditional
Is
college
that
track.
Is that being adjusted somewhat now?
I think so.
To allow for people to-
I think there's a few reasons it's being adjusted. I think one, jobs. I mean, there are kids getting out of college, or that aren't getting a job or are getting a job outside of their major, and college debt is huge. You're graduating college nowadays. He's mine, so I mean, I'm paying for his college. With $30,000 worth of debt. That's a lot of money, and that's just going to the University of Maine system or someplace with a similar type cost. So I think that's playing a big factor. Actually, coincidentally, I just met with the president of KVCC last week, and we were having this discussion about push kids one way or the other, but making them aware of jobs that are out there, opportunities, 2+2 programs. I know Augustus has a nursing program that's the 2+2 program, and there's getting to be. What's that? Where you go with 2 years at the KVCC or someplace, one of the community college, and then if you want to get your bachelor's degree, but they teach you how to study, you can live at home, not build up big debt, get a little more general experience, maybe something practical, and then if you want to continue on, get your bachelor's degree, you can go to 4-year college, or you're prepared to do something. So there's a lot of push for that coming out of high schools nowadays. So I think there is a little more push towards the community colleges. We're working our JMG program. We're expanding that at the middle school. JMG does a really fantastic job pushing kids, trying to engage them and get them into college classes in high school. We have a larger number than ever taking college classes while they're still in high school. We have kids graduating with 20 credits, 25 credits of college credits, a lot of them through KVCC. In Thomas College, we offer Thomas, we do Summit Colby, KVCC, we do a lot there, and we're trying to create more courses that are not just the top courses for your top students that want to go on, and they've done everything. We're trying to get courses that will speak to everybody and get them in the community colleges a lot sooner. So there's some of the things that we're doing. And we have great partnerships with JMG, with KV, with the community college system. So that's a good question too.
Anybody else got any questions?
Any other budget question? Yeah.
Well, not necessarily strictly budget.
No, anything.
The mental health of the students, especially in high school. I know Coney High School has been trying to address it somewhat with having someone who works for kind of like behavioral health that actually assists their part-time with the students. Is that something that our Sheway team has thought about? Just recently a friend's daughter was going through a major depression, and the cost for a counselor was $100 an hour.
It is.
And the family said, we literally can't afford for her to have counseling.
Yeah, that can happen. So yes, and the short answer is yes, we have thought about that. So some of the things we did was, we work, this year, it was something that the board asked us to look into. So we did, and we worked with NAMI, and we brought them in to train, and we probably got close to 50 faculty members that did a 2-day training with them. We're going to hopefully do another 2-day training this summer, do another 50 on supporting students with mental health challenges. And it's not, it's not kids that would think, oh, that's a bad kid. There's just a lot of kids dealing with depression, dealing with exactly what you just described.
Stress.
Oh yeah, testing, you name it. So we've trained, yeah. the kids, the pressures on kids nowadays are just
Well,
different than what they were on
social
ours.
media stuff, I mean, it's so much
Absolutely.
different than, bullying and stuff online, and there are a
Yep.
couple of those apps that you hear about that are,
Yep,
strategic.
Oh, yeah.
Targeting,
the
you know.
pictures and they're, we talk with kids about their digital footprint. We bring in, I'm trying to remember the organization Sean works for, the main, something about sexual violence. Anyway, there's a group that we work with that just talks with kids about, posting pictures of yourself online, etc. So we do that. So we've trained staff. We brought different organizations in. We have guest speakers come in and talk to the kids about the stuff. And we brought in Travis Mills to speak, and stuff like that. So we are training the staff, trying very hard. We work with a variety of agencies where we bring counselors into the building. They don't work for the schools, so there's 100% confidentiality. They just use our facility to see kids. So we try to do that. We hired an extra social worker this year at the younger grades, actually a little more than one full-time FTE, but we've hired more social worker. We've hired extra nursing so that to provide those, and we've done most of that at the younger grades, to get those kids support early to try to help out. Ricky?
Becky's got a
Yeah,
hand.
no.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Comment with the social worker.
Yes.
And,
Yeah, and we've talked to the state police. A lot of that came as a result of our conversation about school safety. And we talked about new resource officers, and we talked about locking schools. We already lock our schools every day. They're locked all the time. But so we talked about different ways to make the school safe, and then talking to state police and talking to counselors. It's don't let kids get to the point where they're feeling helpless. And it's something I think we do a great job of. If I had to look through the budget and say where our increase and decreases, those are some of the increases. These things cost money. But I think they pay for themselves over and over without not having to do those interventions. Glad you brought that up, because the board was pushed very hard for us to address that as a top issue last year, this current year and next year, and it's a priority for everybody.
You guys got anything want to ask?
You're gonna tell us how much of what he said was sold? It's all sold.
Anybody else?
Mr. Barrett, all the years I've been coming out here.
They're just gonna find out.
So when's the next bond issue?
When's the next bond issue? Next fall, Denny. No, I don't say that. That's on a recording. I was just kidding.
It's not going out live, so.
Yes, live streaming right now, all over Central Maine. No, I hope not to. I will tell you, as we've done this, we're being pushed to, like a lot of times we do energy projects, they peel off new lighting. Well, those can be self-funded. So there's that push from companies to say, well, you can do that on top of your bond, but no, we're going to try to take that savings and build that to take care of next year's increases. And some of those savings can get to be significant when you're working with companies like Honeywell and everything. So that's sort of the plan, to try to keep the savings coming.
That was one of the questions.
I know you were giving me a hard time, but that's okay. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
come out tonight anytime. You know how I do. I really like coming out here.
No, it's not a question.
Okay.
The point I want to bring up is Thursday night, there is a budget hearing, right?
Absolutely.
Not the central school, the middle school.
PAC. It's at the
Performing Arts
PAC.
Performing Arts Center at the high school, 6 o'clock. That's the one where the taxpayers, come in, residents gather. We bring Article 1. Here's what it costs. If people discuss it, they can ask questions. We cannot raise it. We have a closed warrant, so they can't be raised, but they can be lowered if people choose.
It's
Whatever.
actually a vote. It's not just a public hearing.
Yes.
We often
Thank you.
describe it as a hearing on
It's
Yes.
a vote, but it has to be confirmed by the.
the validation referendum. But
Yep, we do have a budget validation process. We don't, that's one of those that's voted on every 3 years. So we have that. So on June 12th, then whatever number comes out of Thursday night, that goes to the taxpayers as just a lump sum. And then we vote on that on June 12th to validate that budget. I'm optimistic about this budget. I want it to pass, but I want it to pass big. I mean, we've worked hard. We've listened to a lot of people. People have done amazing work. I want this budget to pass well. I think, we've listened to you. You've listened to us. It's been great collaboration. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. So anything you can do to push the word, please do so.
Thank you.
All we can do is talk.
thank you.
Thank you, Carl.
Anybody in the audience got anything to ask him? Or- I think your son
You're
wants, your son wants to ask you something.
He wants ice cream probably. I don't know.
Thank you.
So is there anything else on the agenda I can help you with? Or? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hopefully I'll see some of you Thursday, if not,
Do you guys have anything for the representatives or anything?
I can barely talk, so I'm not gonna really.
Thank God for that.
Well, thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much.
folks, good to see you. Howard, take care.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming down too.
All right, the next thing on our agenda is marijuana update.
Okay, as you know, the state legislature hasn't passed through the formal yet, but the bill is passed, they've come to a compromise. And then all it has to do is be finalized when the legislature comes back into session. The reason why I put this on was to let you know that the Belgrade ordinance was a moratorium essentially. You approved it for another 6 months. That 6 months ran out in April, right? So the moratorium is no longer in effect. The issue then becomes, what does Belgrade do if we have no moratorium on it and the state laws there allowing for recreational marijuana? The one thing that I understand, and there's a briefing on this, I think it's the 22nd, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. The 23rd, one of those days. And it's at Freddie Flaherty. They're going to give us a brief 1 hour kind of review of the law. I think Kathy signed up for it, I signed up for it, Mike signed up for it. But my understanding of the law, reading through a brief summary document that was made available to us, is that if the town of Belgrade takes no action, doesn't pass an ordinance, doesn't do anything, then no one in the town can get a permit. Essentially, it stops. You have to opt in, not opt out.
Right.
So with that having said, I don't know what the board's preference is on this, how you want to view this. As you know, the town's vote on this back when they voted on the moratorium, the actual legalization bill itself was, the numbers are here in front of me.
It's 198.4. And
So that's the moratorium. Yeah, so 198.4, yeah, so you had a fairly significant plurality.
Say that again, what you just said.
The vote
No,
for
I
the
know
moratorium.
I know that, but if we don't take
If you don't do anything, my understanding, having read a kind of a summary sheet on the law, is that the town has to opt in to recreational marijuana and allowing for permits for all of that. For a store to sell recreational marijuana, it's not an opt-out. In other words, you don't have to do anything, and they can't sell recreational marijuana in Belgrade, is my understanding. But that's what we'll learn more
that's
about.
what we'll find out.
Yeah, my question would be, and I hope to find it out on the 22nd, but what kind of liability does that put the town in? If we refuse to allow it, is that gonna put us in a bad spot?
Well, the only thing that we do is if people really want to have recreational marijuana, they can petition the board, like anyone can petition the board to have a vote on it and put a warrant article as a referendum question, or they can actually go out and get signatures and force the question to be put on the ballot. So that's the two things. There's no liability in the sense that if you don't opt in, you just can't legally sell marijuana in the town of Belgrade for recreational use in the town of Belgrade.
If we do opt in, what's the mechanism for granting the permit?
You would develop an ordinance. All right, you'd have to go through the ordinance development process, come up with an ordinance that would provide for permits and all that in the process to get permits.
Go ahead.
Are you saying that the vote was in favor of legalizing?
No.
No, it's
No.
in favor of the moratorium.
Both the statewide vote, the vote on the statewide initiative in Belgrade, I haven't got that number here, but I know that the number of people voting against the sale of recreational marijuana in Belgrade was against more than it was for.
Okay, that was,
In the same way with the moratorium,
Right.
there was a request that the moratorium vote was higher for
to have the moratorium, right,
Right.
okay, I thank you.
If I was unclear, I'm sorry.
Well, it has been reported the other way at times, and
No.
know that we had clarified that, and I just wanted to be sure that that was understood, okay.
So we'll be going to that. I don't know what the preference of the board is ultimately. Or do you prefer to leave it as it is? Would you prefer to have us, once we come back, to report back from what we're hearing at this session? We can
I'd like to hear
report
what
back
you
the
got.
next board.
What you can
The
bring
three of us
back.
can kind of give our sense,
Yep.
and then you can decide whether you want to do it on your initiative to put forward an ordinance or not. Or wait for someone to push a referendum.
Yeah,
issue through a
if we
board.
don't do anything, we're just out. You know,
If we
it's
don't
just.
do anything,
If we don't
the
do
town of
anything,
Belgrade will not issue permits.
That's
If
right.
the permit's not issued, you can't sell recreational, as I
Right.
understand it. This is all I understand.
and then whoever wants to do it has to
Then they have to
petition and
petition
petition
the
the
board
board.
on their initiative to put it forward on the ballot or go out and pay.
That's my understanding from
Yeah.
the papers that we
Then
got.
what about the caregiver? Is that-
That's all legal. That's,
Yeah, no, but I mean, is that,
that's medicinal use.
right, is there a portion of it, or?
It's all I said. That's what it is. You already got a marijuana
Yeah,
facility here for medical marijuana. That's by
You
state.
already
law.
got marijuana, whether.
Well, that's the other issue,
Medical
whether
or
you do it or
legal.
not, there are a fair amount of people that are actually growing, they can still grow plants, they just can't sell
But it's
recreational.
less amount. They
But
grow
you, 3 plants, not
Three
6,
plants.
it was originally 6.
3 mature, 2 immature.
Yeah.
Or,
And who's gonna check?
You seem
You know,
to
here
know
we
about-
go.
Well, no one's going to check.
I read it, it's all here,
You know, you're right.
did my homework.
So, I just wanted to raise that because the issue had come up and had been stalled because the legislature kind of went out of session before they completed a lot of their work, so that was why I did that.
Isn't there some tax money on?
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
The town could, if you wanted, it's a sin tax, essentially, if you consider marijuana smoking a sin for recreational.
Well, they refer to it as a syntax.
But it's referred to as a sin tax, like smoking tobacco.
Right.
And that, the town could get some money.
Is that a change? Because originally they said it all went to the state.
But the town.
I believe the towns were, I think, in the state law, and again, this is what I believe there's a allowance for some money to do.
I think they'll find out on that 1 hour session too.
Yeah, I think so too.
I just.
Colorado's making megabucks.
But in Colorado too, you gotta balance things.
Well, I
because
understand that, I'm just simply saying that
They're
they are
making money, but there's a lot of criminal element coming from outside
Yep,
the state of Colorado.
That is
into
also
Colorado
true.
doing things. There's a lot of child misuse of marijuana
Yep.
going up because they sell candies and all of that stuff. And the marijuana today is not like the marijuana you guys used to smoke. I never did. When you
oh
smoked
no,
We never
in
did,
college. So, if you did.
not I.
So, but therein lies the dilemma that you guys will face or not, depending on what people in the town.
I
want
think
to
it
do.
requires a good, open discussion
Yeah.
about that kind of stuff.
The tax windfall that Colorado thought they were gonna have is
Is not as big as they thought.
I
really
think.
not there.
The same way with.
I'd really like to know more about that.
Well, when you get all the other expenses,
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that.
That's what I think.
Driving under the influence, there's no way to really
There's-
check that out.
Absolutely.
right.
There's all kinds
There's
of
no way to-
flaws.
to-
It's like casinos, right?
Look, I work with a teen center in Augusta. For the first time ever, we have marijuana issues. And it's kids getting it from their parents who are accessing medical marijuana.
Or they're getting it from their siblings who are older.
Well, we were.
21 and older, you get it.
When I was at the hospital, they finally just had to put something on the doors of the hospital saying no marijuana allowed on the facility, medicinal or not. It was literally
Yep.
getting to the point where the whole hospital reeked of marijuana. And we were like, if you're coming in to our doctor's office, we're an OBGYN, if you can't leave your pot in the car, you
Well,
know,
I actually-
something is wrong.
yeah, I actually forced, I believe it was the New England Lung Association to take only, I don't know if it was only me, but every time they came before my committee, not mine, but the appropriations committee that I serve on, I asked them the question, so what's your position on smoking marijuana? And they were always saying, we don't have a position. I said, I thought you were the Lung Association. So finally, they came out with a position that they were opposed to smoking marijuana.
So I think we've got a majority that we're gonna wait till you guys over the meeting. All right, let's move on. Beat this
Thank
to
you.
death.
Move right along.
How about boat mooring?
This is an issue that I brought up last year, and I believe, Mike, you asked for this to be put on the agenda again?
Yeah, I think we should need to discuss it again, because it is becoming a problem. I'm getting complaints about it. And I know people like, folks down the marina are getting complaints, and there are people that are being affected by boats parking right in front of their property, and the people living on the boats. Plus, moorings placed in the stream just here, there, and everywhere. So I think it's something we need to look at.
Yeah, and I put a paper here that essentially tells, I got it from the Department of Conservation, Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry. It's boat facilities, frequently asked questions. The only control that the state has on moorings is well, there's two controls. But the big one is you can be no further out, any part of your boat can't be any further out than 200 feet from the shore if you're going to moor. You can't block travelways, navigational, you can't interfere with navigational issues. And if it's less than, if the channel is less than 600 feet, you can't be more than 1/3 the distance out. So it could be 150 feet or whatever. So that's and any more restrictive controls on moorings is up to the town through adoption of a mooring ordinance. Some towns in the area have adopted mooring, Sydney's adopted a mooring ordinance. Livermore, I think Jay, there's a number of towns, increasing number of towns in this area because it's coming up from the south. People are actually can't afford the properties. There's no more property that's affordable around a lot of lakes in the southern Maine and in this area. It's going to come up, I'm sure. But so they're actually building pontoon boats or houseboats, and they're putting them in the water, and they stay there all summer, no taxes. They put them in, bore on the lake, and they have the best benefit. One of the reasons why some towns are adopting is not just because they're shoreline property or things. Some of the concerns are, what are they doing with the waste water that's generated? We have no facility in Belgrade, as far as I know, to pump boats, right?
So Marina does not have that?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I don't think there's a pump
I'd call the money
outstation.
dipper to come down.
But in any case, so those are the issues dealing with it. So I had one complaint last year. I brought that to the last year. So the issue is, what do you want to do? The only thing that you can do is let it lie as it is, or you can move forward with an ordinance that restricts it to a certain area, or some towns have opted to have an ordinance that specifies that if you're going to moor in front of the person's property that owns that, then you have to get the person's approval to do that. But some towns, there's different ordinances out there. I could have thrown ordinances in here, but I just thought that I wouldn't do that until you guys decided whether you thought it was a big enough issue to move forward on it or not. So that's really your issue.
Well, the thing is, if you have a piece of property on the lake and you pay, it's worth $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, and you're paying taxes on that amount, you should have there should be some acknowledgement of your rights. And we're not talking about, at least I'm not talking about the people like, I've got a mooring in front of my place, but it's my mooring. And I'm not talking about the guy who drops an anchor to go fishing for a couple hours. I'm talking about a guy who does what we've got complaints on, sets up for the season.
Yeah. Well, the other side of that story is that people who don't have property in the lake, maybe they'd like to spend some time out in the water. Right now, it's state water. They'd like to be able to moor wherever they go.
How do you enforce it?
Some towns,
You have a
code
harbor
enforcement. Some
Can
towns
we
have
have
harbor,
next thing?
some towns would have a harbor master. You can enforce it through the code enforcement officer. I mean, that's.
Get him a school suit or something?
No, I'm just saying that, I'm just,
No,
I get the point, but
Yeah.
ultimately you can take people to court, as we've done through our lawyer and stuff. It depends on how you set the code up. That's up to you. I mean, if you wanted an ordinance, we'd write the ordinance, get it through you guys, and we send it to the public hearing, get comments, maybe change it, maybe not, and then it would be voted on.
So who writes the ordinance?
You could have a committee write the ordinance, you could ask me to put together a draft ordinance, you could, have our attorney write it. Or we could draft an ordinance and give it to our attorney to review, or we could, that would be costly. We could have, a person that's just recently retired look at it.
And as a lawyer.
But no, I just say, that's the way normal ordinances are normally written. The planning board, while they've really been helpful in writing all of our ordinances, they really are responsible only for land use planning ordinances. So the other ordinances that we got haven't been reviewed for a while. I've actually been entertaining the idea of putting something together for you guys to agree to or not, about getting a committee together to just kind of on a routine basis go through our ordinances and update them, non-land use planning ordinances. But that is not something I brought forward to you guys yet. I'm still talking to Becky and a few other folks. And I know it sounds like we have ordinances upon ordinances upon ordinances, and I know, Ricky, that's a feeling you have. No, I get it, I understand why.
It's a tough one though, because when you think about it, you know, say you have your property and you've got a float out there that, you know, your kids or whatever are jumping off from, and then somebody's got their boat and we're there for the season, who doesn't own property on the lake. And, you know.
But the other issue was you should have probably more access to the lake for those people that don't own, so they can put their boats out there rather than fighting to get one out there and then saying, oh, no, I'll just leave it out there for a while. You know, I mean, there's all kinds of issues here. It's not an easy.
Could we look at some other towns that
I have
have
several.
ordinances?
I have several.
I'd like, I would like to start there, for me anyway. I don't know about the rest of the board, but
That's a
I'd
good
sort of
job.
like to see what other people
I can get
are
copies.
doing.
I mean, I've got a file on, when I brought it up last year, I built a file together, so I can put copies of the ordinances to all of you, if you all want to look at them, or just to the people that want to look at them.
Fresh water.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, that's what I'm talking about.
I think we have, if we just had one mooring complaint last year, at this time, maybe we should just hold off and maybe monitor the season, the upcoming season. I think in certain, like Michael was saying, like down in the stream, it's the height of the season, it kind of becomes an obstacle course to go through there, and I guess I'd.
They can't go through there, of course, we have no code right now, there's the
Yeah,
state ordinance.
I mean, it'd be just to take a look at that. Obviously, if, you know, I manage the Alphon property, if, you know, somebody came along and dropped a mooring right out in front of the Alphons that wasn't theirs, you know, I'd hear about it, and, you know, and we'd make a complaint. And I imagine any homeowner that, you know, had a yacht sitting out in front of their house that didn't belong to them would, you know, so it seems to me maybe a case-by-case basis, you know, initially, if we all of a sudden in this year or in coming years, we have moorings all over the lake or out in travel lanes and so forth, and I guess, you know, we'd really have to look at an ordinance to control it, but.
I don't have property on the lake, I understand the issue.
Yeah.
I understand it from both sides.
Sure.
I mean, when we were talking last year, Ricky had some good points.
Mm-hmm.
Not that he doesn't always have good points.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that it's important to sort of get out ahead of it.
Well,
And
yeah.
I'm not
Yeah, we should
suggesting that
do
we
the-
should
do the
create
research
an
now.
ordinance. I guess I'd like to learn more about it,
Yeah.
study what other towns are doing.
These are the questions that I just pulled from the conservation site webpage, so these are
Yeah.
this is where the control is now at the state level.
I hear you.
And then what I can do is, I'll make copies of the various ordinances I have, I think I got 5 or 6 of them from various towns, Southern, Sydney, I got Jay or Livermore.
It's a lot
I mean,
easier.
obviously, they've had some problems with it, and that's why they
Wastewater was one out in Livermore, they
created
were having a
an
problem.
ordinance. Yeah.
Sydney just had a problem with having boats moored all over, so they designated one area on Stone Pond that they could moor in.
Well, because that was my other thought was, you know, if it were to become an issue, then do you create a spot where folks who don't own property on the lake, but own some mooring area?
I mean, that would accomplish the goal of, you know, getting people greater access to state waters, which is, But, you know, where do you create that mooring area?
You have to be really careful of the wastewater too.
Yeah, that's the other thing, you know, so it's just, I don't know.
Once you have an area, then you wanna make sure you have a pumping facility.
Yeah, maybe that's, we should look at it too, I guess.
And when you bring it up, maybe that just brings more of the problem on, you know, I mean, you know, if you say,
I just
here,
think
it's allowed
we
here,
need to
suddenly,
learn more
all the
about it.
people
Yeah, I
that didn't
mean,
know
it's
about
good
it
to do our
say,
homework,
yeah.
because someday this
We
may become
open
an
an
issue, a
envelope,
larger
an
issue.
invitation.
Have to have it.
Well, you know, again, you can also look at it as,
Well, it's
you
like
know,
we went
okay,
through
so
this with
Town
parking,
Belgrade owns this piece of
last year.
property on the lake, and then
Perhaps you're aware of that.
allow so many moorings here.
We ran a little too fast towards an ordinance.
Does it become an,
Yeah.
you know, an income generating thing, you know? If tickets is, you know, like a lottery system to get your spot on the lake, you know?
I've lived down there 62 years and I haven't seen a problem yet.
Yeah, that's it, I mean,
So, and I'm not willing to jump on ordinances for one complaint.
No.
That's
not
just
even.
totally ridiculous. If we did that, we're gonna be writing ordinances every day.
oh,
You know how I feel.
you know how I feel.
And I don't believe in ordinances, half of them.
No, I totally agree with you.
Because nobody enforces them, it's just another piece of paper put in a file.
Well, that's it, if you
With
don't
my name
enforce,
on it.
if you don't enforce an ordinance, then it is just what you say, I totally. agree.
Pointless.
I just think, you know, we need to look at this real
Well, that's
hard,
right.
but yet,
But
one
then,
complaint.
but then on the other hand, I mean, I'm not in favor of ordinances either, but then on the other hand, like with the parking ordinance, the idea of having a parking ordinance gave us an opportunity to enforce something that we didn't have any chance of enforcing without an ordinance.
But we don't have one yet.
And,
No, we don't have.
and we don't, so, I mean, but I think in that case, I was just telling, my colleague here, that, that I think we ran a little too fast towards that parking ordinance when we should have maybe done a little more homework on it, like we're attempting to do now with this mooring idea.
Well, I think we basically did, that's why we put it on kind of hold till
Yeah.
that whole deal gets done.
Yeah.
And if Belgrade Lakes wants a parking lot,
Yeah.
fine, we'll put it in Belgrade Lakes.
Yeah,
The rest of town doesn't need it.
yeah, sure.
That's exactly what that was. Talking
Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead.
Fact is, at this point, all we're asking, or all I'm asking, is that it be discussed, be looked at, we gather some information. And in my mind, it's a lot easier to tell people what they, you know, that they can't moor here, rather than trying to make them move once they're there.
I agree, and when I see things coming forward, that's why I brought the issue last year, because I had a complaint, the guy was wild, you know, and so I figured I'd just bring it up to your attention. So when things are out on the horizon, sometimes it's good for you guys to at least know they're out there. It's
See, I
not
didn't
because
know,
I'm
I
pushing
didn't know
one
there was
way or
any
another.
kind of a problem. Here or anywhere.
Well, it's not unless he's in front of your land.
I get it, I get it.
Your view and.
Well, Southern Maine has become a problem in certain lakes.
Okay, we beat that to death. He's gonna get us some more information. Let's move on. Let's go to the warrant. Mike, here.
Warrant number 57 for $544,022.48.
We should have the school board members stay for that.
Call him back. Too bad we don't have an ordinance.
Yeah.
Come back.
Do I hear a second on that?
Yeah,
Who moved it?
You did. You read it.
Oh, that was my motion.
Yes. Then moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on it?
I have some questions.
I'm just, you know,
See if I have the answers.
This one is this.
I marked my phone up, but I did do this one.
There's
Go ahead,
only
Melanie.
one warrant tonight, right?
Let Melanie start.
Under card number services.
Okay, what's the,
So,
Page.
Second page.
yeah, it's the second page.
What's the check?
We're looking to see what the check numbers, it's sort of like.
It's on, you gotta go back to the first page.
yeah, the first, bottom is first page.
I can't, it's not on there.
What is it?
Choctaw Locust, Long
It is.
Tractor.
What is it, Melanie?
I don't see it on the card. Check number.
Well, I think the hole punched a hole.
Yeah.
Air
Oh, yeah,
compressor.
33.
IR compressor.
so it's 33.
33,
17,
Blue Bay
133.
Railway, and then there's one underneath it, but Under laptop battery on page 2, there's multiple question marks, and it
Yeah.
says 3292.
Yeah, that's, the question marks were there because we didn't have a receipt from, I think it was Travis, right, that, he didn't have the receipt, he didn't turn it in, so Melanie was trying to find out what the receipt was and what it was for and all that. So I believe we got the information, we may not have the receipt yet, but he's going to get the receipt.
Because I was like,
That's on, another one?
oh,
And we kind of highlighted that.
Wait, thank you, Chief.
who's Jason Lindsay?
Jason Lindsay is I think he works at the Center for All Seasons as an after school coordinator, I believe that's the person.
Okay. I didn't recognize the name.
Hey.
They're getting a mileage.
Yeah, because Lily moved into Valencia's position, so then they had to hire her.
Does Hammond give the town a discount?
Depends. We always.
Oh, do we buy Depends there, is that?
Well,
I'm sorry.
Hammond's treats the
I'm not-
town very well. And I can't tell you what discounts or when, but.
Well, I'm just curious.
Mike, you have
Curious
something else?
Yeah, they
Oh,
do.
I did.
Oh,
There's
hang
one
on.
more thing. Under white sign, looks like we paid for a sign for the Taylor Woods Road and one for Freedom Drive, and I'm wondering.
The other two signs, I believe, that I've been told were either taken, stolen, or knocked down. And, Freedom Road is one that's disappearing quite frequently. People like the sign. And I think Taylor Woods Road was one that was knocked down, and someone pulled the sign in the post house. And we have a couple roads that are kind of, people really like those signs, the names, so college kids, I don't know, so some people use them.
I think they're all retired folks.
Yeah, because Freedom Drive, though, isn't that technically?
Retired college
It's
kids?
a private driveway.
We put the roads up. They probably,
Okay, because I thought originally the thing was for the 911 that we bought the first sign and then,
that's not what I understand.
No, once we bought them, we replaced them.
Yeah.
okay.
We put the
Not
sign.
that often, actually, is it?
Now, we don't replace many signs a year.
Well, we don't put a lot, but we do replace them.
I mean, we don't see them on.
Yeah, no, well, I know in that 1 year, or that 4 years I was, or when I was here before, 4 years, well, we were replacing a couple ones. There's one up on,
Send you back, you must know.
not Chet Drive, but there's one up in there that was, it was always being taken. Tommy's Way or something like that. Was a sign that was being taken. Freedom Road was being taken quite frequently.
All right, is that it for you?
Yeah.
Okay, Mike?
I got a couple on page 1, and I don't say check number here, but 508 Smithfield Road,
Let me see.
it's fuel. And the next one down, oh, you know what, one is LP and one is fuel. I assume when it says fuel, it's oil.
Yep,
Fuel.
yes.
Okay, that answers my question.
Okay,
Okay, and also then on page 7, Sandcastle Entertainment Obstacle Course, what is that?
It's probably for one of the, is it Center for All Seasons?
It says Recreation Rec Program.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably one of their programs up there. I don't know exactly what it was for.
Is that what they do, like?
But they have,
Yeah.
they have those things. It says obstacle course.
Oh,
they
it's,
have-
it says superhero too, didn't they just have their
They had a
superhero
okay.
event?
Oh, they do.
They had
That's
that
the
superhero
moms.
The moms,
Yeah.
superhero event.
okay,
Thank you.
anything else?
No, not from me.
Anybody else got anything?
No, sir.
Close the vote.
Ernie?
No,
Seeing none, I entertain a vote to approve this. I guess it's been moved and seconded.
yep,
All in favor?
yeah.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to the town manager.
I'll try to be quick on this.
I hope so.
There's a couple road issues. One, as I informed you last week, or last board meeting, we're doing the SOC priority analysis. We've had some committee meetings, we met with Travis, and I also looked into a town that we were told to look at in terms of their contract, because they're going total SOC priority. That was Randolph. Randolph Maine has 7.3 roads. It wasn't a really good comparison. I got the contract. But we did meet with Travis Warren and Terry Warren. I've had a discussion with them, and tomorrow night I have a meeting with the full road committee. It's an extra meeting this month, because I need to get the recommendation to you folks, so you can decide whether or not you want to go with whatever recommendation they make. There are 4 options. You can continue what you're doing, you can discontinue what you're doing. You can expand what you're doing, or you can go total salt priority. I don't believe the inclination of the committee is to go full salt priority, although there are members that would like to do that. But what I wanted Terry and Travis Warren to do was come to the meeting so that other road committee members that weren't there at my meeting with Terry could hear from Terry, and then they could make a recommendation. My sense is if there's there may be a recommendation to expand salt priority use by going 1 or 2 routes more up in North Carolina, keeping southbound lane at the current state. So, but I can't tell you that's what's going to happen. I just know, just from the conversations. So I'll bring you back a recommendation. You're more than welcome to come tomorrow night. I've got a couple people that said from the road committee that said they'd be here, so I'm assuming that no one said no yet. So.
Okay.
Okay. That's then we met with professional engineer Robert Bell, so from the commission to the Department of Transportation. Remember, we sent a letter out, kind of gently asking what was going on with that section of Route 11 north of the split, Route 8. And I have a study that they had done in 2016 that I had not been aware of. They're coming up with a new program and approach to road maintenance on a 9-year cyclical basis. It's called Cyclical Repaving Program. They won't be necessarily doing full reconstruction of roads like they're doing the 8 and 11 section. We had a nice conversation. They understood, they agreed that preventive maintenance is the best way to go. But they did explain that program, and I can give you copies of that analysis if you want. It's just a way that the state's going to try to make their money go further out. And still get rider, what do they call it, rider opinions of the road up, so that the people see a better travelability.
Good, thank you.
Salt sand shed, I have let's see. Here's the study budget. If you want to see the study. I have as you know, we have a problem with ventilation at the salt sand shed, and we talked to David Trask, who actually built the facility. He met with Morris and Dave Stevens at the facility here about 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. He sent me his proposal to solve the problem. It's putting a ventilation system on top of the roof, and I have the proposed price is $9,850 to do that. We've had some pretty serious situations up there in terms of levels of exhaust fumes. We literally have to get out of the building for a while. So it's one of those things that we talked about last year. I said that we should move to get it fixed. You guys wanted to get some kind of recommendation, and that's the recommendation.
I really don't see we've got a choice. I mean, what's it gonna cost if somebody gets sick up there over this?
Right.
I mean, this is a cheap way to fix it, if it's gonna do it.
And that's the thing, is I almost wanna have a second opinion on what it's gonna be to fix it, because I think we mandated this a couple of times,
Yep.
and it still is not up to snuff.
What we probably need to do is get a mechanical engineer. I've talked to state DOT engineers, they're not ventilation experts.
There must be somebody in the private sector that,
But we can go out and get, an engineering decision. I don't know if we'd have to pay for it or not.
What about,
Why don't-
other communities that have this sand and salt sheds that are similar to size? I mean, we had looked at some of them prior to us putting this one up, and have they dealt with some of the same issues? And if they,
maybe talk to Al Hodgkins or talk to Elliot Thayer.
I'll talk to both of them.
I mean, they may have some people that can steer in the right direction.
And I'll talk to both of them.
fix it, I want it to be,
Yeah, we wanna make sure it's gonna work,
right.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree.
but we need to do something.
But,
It's terrible in there.
Agreed.
Smithfield has 2 fans in there, so we only have 148-inch fan. Smithfield has 2. I talked to Terry and Travis about that. And Sydney just built a salt sand shed with two 48-inch fans in it. So it seems like, for whatever reason, the original building was designed with a 36-inch fan. Obviously, it just didn't do anything. People were getting nosebleeds, everything. They replaced that with a 48-inch fan that didn't do it.
Lucky they're not
Probably could have
suing
done it
us.
with two fans. That's the level of kind of analysis that we've done so far. So I will check with Al and,
Well, check with both of them. I mean, they both,
and Elliot.
they both probably been run into something like this.
Is
Good point.
the issue vehicle exhaust?
Yes, when they're putting up salt, mixing the salt and sand,
Diesel.
it's diesel fuels
That
inside the
doesn't
building.
go up.
Yeah, but you ought to be there, I've been there.
I'm not questioning that it's a problem.
Yeah.
But you're gonna vent the top, exhaust falls.
It sucks it out on top with that other fan going.
No, actually, it's,
I would-
heated
I would
fumes go up.
Agree that
If
you
it's-
need to
if
have
it's
a
hot air,
ventilation
it'll go
expert
up.
get in there and identify
Yeah,
what you're trying to get rid of, and
it's a diesel exhaust, and it actually hangs.
But isn't that
As
like
they build the sand pile up, because
It's a cloud in there.
they move the equipment there to keep it going up.
but isn't it a carbon monoxide?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Carbon monoxide is low.
it falls down.
Well, carbon monoxide, but there are other constituents that are creating problems. There's particulate matter that come out of the exhaust. There's all kinds of,
Get ventilation person.
well, no, that's what I've already decided, I guess.
There are those air quality people that come along and tell you exactly what the gases are and all that sort of stuff.
I don't think we need to do that if we can ventilate it. I think the issue is getting it ventilated.
Let's-
Because we know that that's nasty stuff.
So we just call it nasty stuff and get rid of it.
Pretty much know what it is.
So get a hold of them and see what,
Yeah,
so we can get an answer back. If
I mean,
not,
last time we were trying to get David Trask to see what he,
right. Well, he might.
Can I ask a
All you need is
Go ahead.
a lawsuit.
Without the construction there up on the 11, why are the trees being cut as far back as they are? What is the plan for that?
Sunlight, road will melt quicker. That's what, just like they did the interstate, they cut it back so that the sunlight gets in there, so it melts quicker, so that it takes less material.
animal
And-
control.
And the trees aren't gonna be falling in the road.
Yeah, 'cause I'm like, geez, there's,
In all those trees that are being cut, they talked about every landowner.
Yeah.
yeah, well, no, and I assumed that they had, but I was just like, wow, it is just,
We had one issue with 3 apple trees that came up there that people wanted to see the blooming of the apple trees and all that. But apparently the person that owned the property wanted to have them cut. It was up by Danny Lane.
And knock one down by
They
accident.
were rotten, did you see how
They
bad?
were,
They were terrible.
but you know, I mean, I understand people's interest in tree canopies and trees, so.
Okay, let's move on.
so I gave the option.
Spectrum, ongoing issues with Spectrum, the transfer station phone is supposed to be in on the 21st now. We had the dial tone, they just said we didn't have it. They did, because I've been getting phone calls, so they couldn't. Anyhow, that's gonna be fixed. The increased internet speed here, the guy came today, we're supposed to increase our internet speed. He started talking to me and he looked at the work order, he says, wrong work order, and,
Have a nice day.
have a nice day, Dylan.
Yeah. Imagine that.
I have spent more time than I can tell you, and I think Anthony can tell you how much I've been upset in the office. than no one else. Okay. On the issue of the Old Town office, we had a purchase sales agreement for $55,000. I went back with $100,000 and I haven't heard yet. So.
But you do have a chance, we have a chance to rent it to the
Oh,
state.
yeah, that's right, I meant to bring that up, yes. So the DOT, essentially, their facility that they're using now, they have a lot of complaints about. So they've asked whether we could rent that facility out. At the time, and I hadn't talked what Ricky had done, I basically said, well, if we rent it out, I don't have a problem with that at all, but you need to leave if we were to sell it. Ricky's point, I guess, tonight when we were talking about it, I was mentioning it to Ricky. Ricky said, well, you could always tell whoever sells it that you have, it's gonna be rented until such and such
Yeah.
time.
Yep.
We all
Which I have not
get
thought of, and so that's what I can tell. I can have
you know,
Joan recontact them.
Well,
No, do we know who, are we privy to knowing who it is who's put an offer in on it?
Yeah, it was on the email.
Yeah, it was.
I'm not getting the.
Name of the person?
I didn't get the
Oh,
one that you
he
mentioned
said
last
don't
time.
send it to Melanie. No, no.
No, the one that you mentioned in the
I sent
last
it
meeting.
to your home address.
If it's a Roadrunner
Okay.
one, that account was, that's the one that my IP address was hijacked. That's why we had the Gmail address.
Okay, so if you
Anything
can
that
send me,
goes to
because I haven't.
Roadrunner, I don't have it. Well, you had it. You were sending me stuff initially to the Gmail one?
Well, it should be right on my email list, but I had your old until I got the Gmail.
Yeah, because the Roadrunner one,
Okay.
and I meant to tell you that, but I didn't.
Okay, I'm sorry about that, because,
Yeah, you just.
I'll look and see what it is right now, I can tell you. You know why? Because I don't think you sent it to him. Looks like you sent it to Kathy twice.
I only have one email address, so, group, I mean, so.
While you're searching for that, my question on the renting of the town offices, does it need work to be rented? I mean, they talk about their current office being substandard. One of the reasons we're not using that as a town office anymore is because it's substandard.
Well, their problems are multiple. They were fine with they bring their own water, and they weren't flushing toilets and things like that.
I mean, are there things that we're gonna have to do to that
What do you
building
need
for them to rent it? Or is it
Not
fine
the
just
way they
with,
talk when I
State
talk,
of Maine, DOT.
and how long a term of
it'd be
rental
until the end of the construction season. Their construction season is going.
on the road, okay?
Figure 3 months, maybe.
Oh, okay, well, I mean, that's.
Oh, yeah.
That's
I mean,
not
that's
gonna
what-
hold up any kind of sale.
No, I mean, somebody can, if they,
Yeah,
somebody buys it, you tell them, it's gonna be 3 months before you could.
Sure.
We aren't selling it very quick, and once you get something out of it, that's my theory.
Agreed,
That's- yeah.
agreed.
What should sell tomorrow?
Probably. If it does, it does.
It's good to go to.
It's all good.
So do we wanna make a motion on that to do that?
I've got a couple of my stuff.
Would you like a motion on that, Denny?
Okay,
That we rent to DOT, is that,
That we run it to DOT?
yes, and then what I'll do is work out whatever arrangements, if they still want to rent it.
Okay.
I would make a motion that we give Denny authority to work out a deal with DOT to rent the old town office building.
And I do that through Joe. She's our.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you.
At least we pay that
Okay.
CMP bill for, we pay them
So there are nuisance issues, the Smithfield Road, there are a couple things I'm gonna be sending to the attorney, to have the attorney send out letters. The one at 341 Manchester Road, I've essentially said if I don't get a date certain by this week, Borzy, the property down here,
Oh, yes.
if I don't get a date certain, because they were supposed to have it cleared up by last Friday, and then there was months, a week ago, this past Friday, then they were supposed to have it done by the 9th. They said that they boarded it up and took 10 cubic yards away. I had pictures before and after, no way.
No,
I
nobody's
came
done
by on my
anything.
way
They
home
have
from work and
panels.
saw the van there and the people looked completely exasperated, like this was
You
not.
gotta go in there with an
what they
excavator and
signed up
dig that
for.
out. I mean,
It's,
load it and go.
so what I'm going to do is we have, state law was changed, that we have the authority to declare it a nuisance and then go after and get it fixed up and then charge them, and I charge them both the fees for removal and the lawyer fees. So we'll see how that works out. I haven't gotten an email back yet from them, so.
Now, on that property are the children,
Oh, there's
Actually-
Nobody there.
there's no, they left last year.
but do they still own it?
No, it's the bank foreclosed, and it's the bank's property. For Wells
That
Fargo,
Wells Fargo, okay.
and the people I'm dealing with are out of Michigan, they're the property maintenance people out of Michigan.
Oh,
So they
God.
go through contract after contract. They've had 3 contracts with different people now.
you ought to ask them if they want the fire department, they want to donate it to the fire department, and have it burned down.
No, the fire department will not burn it down.
No, they won't.
They've already said no, they do not want to deal with that.
Oh,
Wait till-
Because they have dead animals inside the building.
oh,
There's all kinds of,
Yeah, 'cause
it's
they're
a
all
very
walls.
difficult situation.
oh, okay.
Too close to road too.
Not to mention, you don't really know what's under those piles.
You don't wanna know,
No.
no,
They don't wanna
probably
know who's
dead
on it.
bodies too.
Okay, just one piece of good news, like report that we've at least made some movement on. Center for All Seasons, the Article 44 that is looking at the maintenance of the Center for All Seasons, the outside maintenance. We met, I think we made a lot of progress on that first meeting. We've already agreed to bring forward to the board a proposal where we would replace the shingles, the upper third from the brake line where we had that pillar going on, and to wrap some of that stuff, the windows and all of that. So we've got an agreement on that. The question now is what to do with the lower half, with what kind of materials, and there's 3 or 4 different options. Ernie's working on pricing a couple. Al Feather, representing Hammond, is working on a couple of pricing options, and we're going to move forward. And I've asked essentially whether or not it would be, I basically said that I'd like to think we could have a goal of having a completed recommendation, not that it would be completed, by the end of May. Now, some people think that's a little bit too soon, but we might be able to do it, maybe not. But if we don't have a goal, we're not going to, we'll just sit there until July or August.
Let's not hurry it. Let's make sure we get the stuff that's going to work on that.
Well, that's exactly what they're doing, and an agreement from all the people representing this cross section of the town, make sure that everyone's in agreement. You think, my understanding, at least, and Ernie, you can speak to this too, is that they want to keep it the same style and color. So the issue is material, the type of material. Is that fair?
Yeah, we don't want to just change, the way the building was originally constructed is it has a number of different textures, shingles and clapboard and different, and so we try to keep those same textures, that sort of make up the character of the building, but there must be a way to do it that's long-term and lasts and all that kind of stuff. So we're looking at a couple different options. We'll put something together and it'll all, whether it flies financially or not, that still remains to be seen.
We have to see what the price is.
See what those are.
Good, thank you.
There's one final thing. I'm sorry it wasn't on your agenda. It's just something I didn't pick up when I reviewed the agenda. In February, we asked for the money. We talked about the money that the Friends of the Belgrade Village was going to give to the town, and we had to have it all up front before we could sign the contract. The question came up was, well, where does the interest for that money, do we get the interest from Belgrade Lake, or does the town make any interest? And at that time, the board said, well, if Belgrade Village keeps the interest, we're just going to use the major part of the principal, and but we need it in our bank. There was no vote taken on that, so when I talked to the Friends of Belgrade Lake Village, they said, well, was that voted on? I said, no. I would like to have the board, if you're inclined to, actually formalize that with a vote.
I think that's what we decided on.
Yeah, I'll make the motion that we do what we said we were going to do.
What was that?
Give the interest back to the Friends of the
Any
Belgrade
interest
Village
that's accrued.
Thank you.
from that sizable
We'll write
sum.
that.
I'll second it, yeah, pretty much.
Okay, been moved and seconded. Any more discussion on this? Seeing none, I'd entertain a vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
And that's all I have.
I have a question.
sure.
Is there anything new on the, was it Bright Side Marina?
Yes, and the permit was denied, right? So they have no permit to operate that facility. I talked to Gary last week and said, Gary, you should tell them that they can't operate the facility. My understanding is through communications with another interested party to the appeals board, because it's going to be taken up by the appeals board, because they've appealed the interpretation that the planning board made on that particular issue, is that they put the docks in and it looks like they're going to operate. So I'm going to be talking to our attorney about, they can't operate without a permit. Now, if they operate without a permit, we can ignore it, I suppose. But I feel uncomfortable in ignoring, even though it may be the best thing since sliced bread, they should follow the rule that everyone else has to follow.
Right.
That's my opinion, so that's what I'm going to be talking to.
It's not the best thing since sliced bread, so.
I'm not saying it is. I said even though it might be the best.
Yeah.
If you haven't got a permit, you
That's
shouldn't
right.
be allowed to operate.
That's right.
It's just, it's pretty clear in the ordinance, and I feel that if we treat them any differently than we treated anyone else, although maybe we aren't. Maybe taking the enforcement action is treating them differently, I don't know, but I have always attempted to ensure that the ordinances were enforced.
Yeah.
So that's my approach.
I agree with that approach, frankly.
Mike, did Gary go down and order them not to operate, or did he?
I don't know, I mean, I was going to, in fact, he was in today, but I was so involved in a lot of other things that I didn't get a chance to talk to him about it. And I was gonna talk to him today to see whether or not he'd actually gone down and spoken to them. But I'll talk to him, but I'm gonna talk to the lawyer to see what because I think the best way to do this is through a formal kind of legal process.
Yes.
The docs are in, at least a couple of them are.
Yeah.
Well, and I think in the past, what we had done with code enforcement was Gary actually came to the meetings and at least quarterly and told us what was going on, what he had been addressing,
That may have been after I left, that never happened in the
you know.
We haven't in the past.
Because we should know what's going on.
Well, that's why I try to keep you up to speed on this stuff.
Well, I mean, we added 8 hours to what he's doing, 24 hours and $50,000, so I think at the bare minimum, the town ought to know what he's asking as far as code.
Well, yeah, that's what and I would have had the answer if I could have seen it today, but he was out in the field today and back and forth, and I was out, so we just didn't connect today, so.
All right, well, keep us posted on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I said, these other enforcement actions are underway.
Yeah.
The one up on Smithfield Road and this Borzine property,
What is the one that's with him?
it's another nuisance issue. It's a yard full of junk.
Stuff.
Are you gonna talk about the evaluation thing here, or is that gonna be a?
It's the last pieces of paper in the,
I think it's your.
Oh, my evaluation, yes, I put that there, I don't know how you have done it, and you want me to pass out copies to the staff, and I'll send it back to you, do you wanna do it?
We'll do it.
It's due in June, and it's, whatever you guys wanna do, it's up to you. And then we'll have an executive meeting in June to go over this.
We found out it wasn't quite legal to send it out to the employees. Ernie did some investigating.
Ernie Rice.
Ernie Rice did. And
But
according to
it's
his
fine.
findings, it wasn't. So we did it just the board. He
internal.
works for us. They work for him.
But to be frank, I have no problem, I mean, if there's something, if they have a problem, don't have them send it to me, because I don't wanna see, because I don't want them to feel like I'm gonna take it.
I don't think there's any need to. I think we'll do the evaluation.
I think that, I guess the only thing I'd say about that is that most evaluations, we don't work with him on a day-to-day basis, maybe you do, but I
No,
certainly
I
don't
don't.
see him on a day-to-day basis. And it would be important to have some feedback, I don't know how we'd want to do that, but some
Yeah.
feedback as to how he is as a personnel manager.
That's where we ran into problems.
That's right. I think we found it wasn't legal, but,
Really?
yeah.
I
Most
think
places
it-
I have worked are what they call 360 evaluations.
That's 360, that's what we used to do back when I was.
I know, we used to do it, but as I said,
Interesting.
Ernie did his investigation on it, and I'm sure he probably did a pretty in-depth one, because he always does.
I think if you look at these categories, I think we can answer, we have a pretty good
Yeah.
idea of most of this stuff.
But whatever you guys wanna do, I'm not in favor
I'll
of it.
follow your lead.
Well, if we had some other problems, I'd maybe think different, but I think we can take care of it. I can write enough nasty stuff on there about it.
I don't have any problem.
No.
I'll write nasty things about him too. I don't mind.
I just want to take a minute. I went to the planning board's last meeting, Mike and I
Great,
did.
I had that question on here. so-
I got out of there at 10 minutes of 11. It was a long meeting, way too long. Do you agree, Mike?
Yeah.
And-
I'd say the whole thing, but yeah.
They asked, at the end of the meeting, I told them why I was there. I said, I want to sit in, try to help you guys. I'm not here to throw you under the bus. So I'm just observing what you guys are doing. But honestly, I think there's some things that can be really changed. In fact, I talked to a couple people that was in the audience one of them goes to planning boards all the time, and he said the most that he's ever spent in one is half an hour. His case, he didn't even have to be there. Gary could have handled it, but the first one was 43 minutes, the first case. There was 5 of them. The first one was here for 43 minutes. Am I correct on that, Mike? What time did I think? The second one was an hour and, I want to say an hour and 15, 20 minutes. And the next one was probably half an hour, because it didn't even need to be at the planning board. It should have somehow got caught before it ever got there and kicked out. The next one was probably, it was probably 45 minutes, because the architect got up and talked the whole time about it. And then this last one was pretty simple. It was a shoreline zoning deal about replacing the building that's right in the same footprint, which went right through. And I came in and talked to Denny the next day. Excuse me. And I told him it kind of started off with Nick. And I've talked to Nick about this. I said, look, I'm not throwing you under the bus. I said, well, the meeting set there, 7 minutes before it even started. They were supposed to start at 7 o'clock. He didn't have the paperwork ready. He just wasn't quite organized. And then
Well, they also wait until all the members show up instead of starting.
oh yeah, that's right.
Have a quorum start.
Right. They did not do the minutes that night, and I don't know really why. They're gonna do them Thursday night from the last 2 meetings, because they didn't do them in the meeting before. So I'm coming to that meeting too. I wanna see how that's done. So I told him, I said, you know, I want you guys to think of ways to help yourselves. 10 o'clock should be the latest you guys are here. At the maximum, 10 o'clock. And they thank me for coming, and you know, they're open for suggestions, but if you guys get a chance, you ought to come and just observe what goes on. They're wicked in depth. I mean, wicked.
Too in depth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the application is 37 or 38 pages for a commercial application. And from what the people told me in the audience, they've had to hire architects or an engineer to fill them out because they couldn't do it. And that's between $10,000 and $12,000 right off the bat. So, you know, maybe, you know, I don't know what the answer is, but, you know, you guys need to put your heads together too, see if we can come up with some answers to help these people.
You know, it's probably a good thing they didn't do their minutes that night you were there, because they take forever with their minutes. They go through them, I mean, they relive each meeting almost. I mean, one meeting's minutes can take an hour. And my thought on that is that they should do their minutes via email with each other. If you've got it, you hear the minutes,
Right.
you look them over. If you've got a question or a change, you email out to everybody, and if it, you know, unless it's something really important, which that group thinks a lot of things are important, they should, you know, limit their discussions of those minutes to.
Should be just a vote.
I mean, you really should be.
All non-substantive changes should be made without going through this. You forgot the apostrophe, you forgot the period, forgot the S, this is misspelled. All that should be submitted prior to.
Oh yeah,
so that
all that stuff.
any substantive changes, you know, things like,
Good recommendation.
so.
You know, and I thank them. They do a heck of a job.
Oh,
I
they
mean,
do? Yeah.
They don't leave any stones unturned. In fact, you know, I kind of went out of feeling that they were discouraging business in Belgrade. And I don't like that feeling. They're making it so difficult. In fact, I'll tell you, I talked to a guy today that wanted to add on to the business, and he's probably not going to do it in this town.
Well, you've heard the saying, the paralysis of analysis, right? I mean, God love those guys, they do great work, and they put in their time, that's for darn sure, but boy, they
Critique it right to the,
and, you know, maybe there's, maybe it's up to us to sort of, here's a quick little analysis. Today, I just had a crew help me finish cleaning up the remnants from all the trees and the windstorm that blew down. Now, if I insisted they pick up every branch everywhere, we'd never get it done.
still be there.
We'd still be there. And so it was kind of up to me, because I gotta finish this, you know, I'm tired of it, I gotta get it done. So it was up to me to sort of work with them this week and say, you know, leave that stuff. You don't have to go that far over there, you don't have to go that far over here, and just deal with this stuff, and just, you know, what we see, you know, and to give them, you know, some parameters of where, and maybe that's, you know, they really dig into this stuff thinking that they have to because they don't want to leave any stone unturned.
They follow the ordinance right to the T,
They sure do.
and maybe that needs to be changed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, you know, that's what we need to discuss
I mean,
with them. I think.
And it's, you know, and again, you hit it, they do a hell of a job, put
They
it
do.
clean.
Mhm.
I mean, there's not much gonna get by these people
How much time do they spend going through that list to assure that everything has been covered?
the second.
Instead of just having a single motion that says everything covered. And then if somebody says this wasn't, then you address that issue.
But the application said everything that second one did. And they went through the application first, made sure everything was, every page, blah, blah, blah. Then there's a second thing where it's a checklist to make sure we covered the first thing. And they went through the whole thing again. I mean,
It takes time.
it takes time. I don't know why they can't use the application, run through everything where they need to be,
Just do it once.
and
I mean,
vote on it, put the vote on
Imagine,
it.
here's another example, imagine if every warrant we had, we went through it line by line and read.
Or you don't,
thing.
it seemed like you.
Well, I mean, you know, and we had a vote on everything, you know, but that's not how we do it. We look at it ahead of time.
Yeah.
If there's something that I see or you see or, you know, anybody, you know, you make a circle and, you know, sometimes there's 4 or 5 questions and, you know, we quickly ask those questions and boom, we're done with it, you know, I mean.
We even talked to Gary, Denny and I did, to see if he thought of some ways. And I mean, we talked to Peter, talked to both Peters, I talked to the whole group. They're thinking what they can do.
Yeah, they have to, yeah.
And because, I mean, you're right, if they'd have done the minutes, I'd have been here till after midnight.
Well, they'll burn themselves out, I mean.
Well, that's what I'm worried
You
about.
know, I mean,
The volunteers.
speaking for myself, but I mean, imagine if select board meetings took that long. We'd all be thinking long and hard about if we want to run another term, I'm guessing, you know.
I've been here till 11 or 12 o'clock.
And sometimes they do, don't get us, I mean, when
Take your time to figure that out.
these damn meetings
Good
take
night,
too long.
That's, I don't know if Mike's got anything he wants to add to it or not, but, you know, I don't wanna see them get, not yet.
I think it will take an ordinance change, which means that they'd have to write the ordinance change.
Well, if they do, they do.
No, I'm just saying, it will take an ordinance change to take a vote of the town.
Is there, how well do you know that ordinance? Are they required to go through that list twice?
No, I don't know, I mean, I think what they do is they go through the application to make sure it's all complete. And then, because I've been to a couple of them, the second time that they go through, they want to make sure that they're making findings of fact. In other words, do we believe this was accomplished appropriately, whatever. And someone might say, well, maybe they should put 2 inches of stone rather than 12, or 24 inches of sand rather than 2. So someone makes those comments. I don't really know how that all works, but I think they do go through it for completeness, as a check on completeness, and then it's a kind of a check on, did they do what the ordinance requires? One is, have they covered everything in here that's supposed to be covered? Did they do it the way the ordinance wants it done?
One of them told me they'd been back, I think, 4 times, I can't recall. I don't even remember which one I talked to, but, because the application wasn't completely filled out, so they denied it. It was an incomplete application, so it had to go back out. They didn't know what the hell they were doing. They didn't know how to fill it out.
Yeah, and Gary is, to provide guidance on things like that, and I've asked him whether or not he can make sure that the applications, before they get to the
Planning board ought to be complete.
and he said, I try to do the best I can, you know.
Some of the things you can't answer, because topographical map and, you know, this,
Listen,
I think there needs to be maybe a couple different applications. You know, I don't,
you know, maybe the size of the development, how much.
well, they got that. There's 7,600 feet or something that has to go to the planning board. And if it's less than that, it can go to Gary or,
And there are certain things that probably shouldn't require an architect or an engineer and all that, but, you know, it doesn't require it on everything, you know, that's, I mean, I've never sit on the planning board, I've sit on the appeals board, I've never sit on the.
another thing that came up was,
I need to go and listen to them function.
Yeah.
we're almost done here.
Oh, I
No,
didn't
no,
know
I
they
was
meant
just
here.
thinking-
Oh,
I meant the planning
You
board.
guys
Oh.
done at 8 o'clock, you guys done? Because I'm leaving.
the new thing is, fire
It's a new
department,
thought, though.
the fire department has to sign off on every building. That's something that they
That was in the ordinance.
just, huh?
It's new in the ordinance.
Yeah, it's something new in the ordinance. How did that get in there without us passing it? Or the town passing it?
The town voted on it and passed it, that's what
Well, I
that,
missed that one,
We
big
didn't see
time.
it.
that was in the commercial development. ordinance.
Because remember there was that whole thing about the Main Lakes Resource Center and the size of it and if the fire department could adequately handle it, if there was a structure fire there, did we have the equipment in town? And I think that's where the whole
It may
piece
have been.
came in, that the fire department has to review it.
I don't know, I wasn't here, so.
Danny didn't even know it was coming to him, and all of a sudden he started.
He said, where'd it come from?
Yeah,
I said, I don't know.
you know, that was in
That
there,
was it, because.
that was in there a long time ago.
Discussion about that.
because I signed a lot of, you know, but anyway, I mean,
I think there was always a requirement for the fire department to review it, but this one, there's an adequacy statement that he has to make.
but again, I talked, well, I'll tell you who it was Al Hodgkins, I was talking to him here, and he says, everyone he goes to, he said he's there a half an hour and it's approved. You know, he brought up some things to him that was wrong, and it was wrong in the ordinance, so the ordinance and the application didn't
But
just.
he's a repeat performer.
Right,
Some of these people, you know, architects or, you know, that are bringing a project to the planning board, they almost treat their performance in front of the planning board like American Idol, you know, and this is their chance to sing. And the longer they sing, the more there's a chance their thing's gonna get passed. And they try to provide as much information as possible, and it's overload, it's too much, but I don't know.
one of the things that one of the guys had that went through quite a while was on the trees out front of your business.
Screen.
That's not what you call it though, whatever, but that was it.
Screen.
And the guy says, I can't have that many trees down through there, can't get into his driveway with a boat.
It was the boat place.
So, you know, I'm thinking to myself, you think somebody's gonna go down there and count how many trees are there? Do what you need to do.
Well, anyway,
Do they get those applications ahead of time, or do they just get
Yeah,
them?
they get the application.
They get the application ahead of
And
time?
Nick sends those applications out prior to the meeting with the agenda.
And that doesn't help facilitate the process?
Well, it does, but it's 38 pages or 37 pages,
well, that's
and
tough.
some of that stuff doesn't really pertain to them, but they're still gonna be filled in. That's the way I
Unless it's
took
not
it, right?
applicable, I mean, I assume in some cases it's not applicable. but-
Yeah, I mean, didn't fill in the
Well, then
blank.
you put a little NA there, and,
Well, I don't,
And
I've
move
never
on.
filled one out, I'll be filling out one, so.
You won't
okay.
be doing it, you won't be doing
Then
one.
you'll
I wanna
let
go to
us
Marina
know.
on the.
Good boy. Keep it up.
all right,
All right.
If you do it right, get a permit first.
I wanna go and see them in
Yeah,
operation.
no,
I don't-
Street.
I don't have anything else. If anybody's got any questions about what we saw there, shoot them, but, I just wanna help. That's what my game plan is.
I need a little time to go and visit with them, you know, to just go and observe and then think about it a little bit.
Well, that's what I've been doing. I mean, I thought about it. In fact, I didn't sleep much that night. I was thinking about
Because you're home so late.
these poor people. You know what? They're doing it twice a month. Now, this next meeting, they're gonna be working on the ordinance, I believe.
Yeah, they're gonna take part of the meeting and look on the
I
ordinance.
think they're gonna do all of it. I think,
They may very well, I don't know how much.
I think that's what they do. And I even said, you know what, if, maybe you need to slow down on that a little bit and take care of the business. People can build, they got a shop window to do it in, maybe that's what you should be doing. But anyways, I'm gonna go to the next one, I wanna see what,
Yep.
this
You keep an eye on how
When
much
is
time
it?
they spend on the
Is
minutes,
Thursday night.
because now they're doing minutes from 2 meetings
Yeah.
in 1 meeting. And
Well, if it's that long, I probably won't, I'll probably get my opinion right off the bat and leave. But anyways, all right.
Okay,
Second.
Been moved to second? All in favor?
yeah,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
yeah.
Mine is just one.
Madam?
Go home, take care of yourself.
Yeah, I tried to cough this